Hello, Farah. How are you? I hope you're doing well.
Great, thank
And
you.
so, as you can see, we're in a different place. I'm actually at home. Unfortunately, most of you probably know that Daryl had a death in his family, and so he had to go back to his hometown. And Nini isn't able to be with us here today. So it's just me. Now, I got to tell you about last week's devotion. Number one, as you know, we had some technical issues. We got a bit of a late start because of it, and we rushed through some information that I feel is extremely important, especially to people who may not know very much about the Baha'i faith. And then to add insult to injury, as you know, along with the Zoom feed, we also do a Facebook Live. And as it turned out, when I tried posting that and sharing it, which I always do, there was no sound. Don't know why, but there was no sound. As a matter of fact, let me make sure that my sound on this is up to where it's supposed to be. I just want to make sure that I don't have the same problem. I don't know that I would have that problem, but I just want to be on the safe side. Okay, yeah. So what we're going to do today actually is we're actually going to go over the very same information from chapter 29 in Baha'u'llah's teachings on spiritual reality. And because that's the idea of messengers of God being sent by God is for many people, I can say for myself, was a very new concept that frankly, on a personal level, I wasn't comfortable with until I learned more about it. And then it just made sense. It just made sense. And one thing that I've learned to accept is that even when we might not understand something at first, if it's truth, if you try hard enough, sooner or later it'll make sense. But I think I will go ahead and start with a people running around every day, wondering why things are changing so fast. Don't know what to do, don't know what to say. Got so many questions to ask. From pillar to post, from coast to coast, confusion all across the land. A hidden word is what I'd like to say. Tell me, would you listen, my friend? And I'm so glad I know about the blessed beauty. So glad I know about the blessed beauty. I just want to praise his name. Baha'u'llah, 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 oh yeah. Again, hello to everyone who might have just come in. I didn't get a chance to say hi to Camby's, and Camby's he's always here. Hopefully you'll hear him play something today. But again, as we were saying before we actually started our live feed through Facebook, what we're doing today is going back over information that we went over last week because it is so important, and for many people it's a new concept, and it's something that because of our issues last week we had to really rush through. So Daryl and I had already talked about redoing it, but it was supposed to be a Q&A. It was supposed to be we'd cover the same information, but we'd put it in the form of questions and answers. And since he's not here, I guess I'll be doing the questioning and and the answers. But let's first start with a brief prayer. Oh my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily, thou art their helper and their Lord. So again, today what we're talking about is, again, coming from Baha'u'llah's teachings on spiritual reality, and it's a compilation. In this particular case, this chapter on divine educators. We're talking about the manifestations of God who are sent by God, and they are sent to educate mankind, for the spiritual education of mankind. Again, I thought it'd be good to let's ask some questions and then find the answers here. Obviously, the questions are kind of pre-formulated for the purpose of kind of moving us forward. So the first question that I think is good to ask is, who came up with this plan? Well, it's God, but who is God? And this is what Baha'u'llah says. He is God. Exalted is he, the Lord of majesty and power. He hath in every age and cycle, in conformity with his transcendent wisdom, sent forth a divine messenger to revive the dispirited and despondent souls with the living waters of his utterance. So there's a question, if we wondered why, that's why he sends these messengers, to revive the dispirited and despondent souls with the living waters of his utterance. One who is indeed the expounder, the true interpreter, inasmuch as man is unable to comprehend that which hath streamed forth from the pen of glory and is recorded in his heavenly books. So that's why we're sent messengers, because on our own, man simply can't understand God's will. Man is unable to comprehend that which hath streamed forth from the pen of glory and is recorded in his heavenly books. Men at all times and under all conditions stand in need of one to exhort them, guide them, and to instruct and teach them. We need the guidance of the manifestations of God because we stand in need of that. Man, under all conditions, stand in need of one to exhort them, guide them, and to instruct and teach them. Therefore, this is again reasoning why God sends us messengers. Therefore, he hath sent forth his messengers, his prophets and chosen ones, that they might acquaint the people with the divine purpose underlying the revelation of books and the raising up of messengers, and that everyone may become aware of the trust of God, which is latent in the reality of every soul. We're sent messengers so we can understand, what our potential is, as God's creation, so that everyone may become aware of the trust of God, which is latent in the reality of every soul. And that's from Baha'u'llah. Well, hang on, you know what? I'm going to have to take my glasses off. I don't know what's going on with my eyes right now. So, what is their function is the next question. What is their function, the function of the manifestations of God? And this is what Baha'u'llah says. As to the holy manifestations of God, they are the focal points where the signs, tokens, and perfections of that sacred pre-existent reality appear in all their splendor. They are an eternal grace, a heavenly glory, and on them dependeth the everlasting life of humankind. Our life depends on them. Then we're given an illustration to help us understand it. And among Baha'is, this is a common illustration. To illustrate, the Son of Truth dwelleth in a sky to which no soul hath any access. In other words, that Son of Truth, I want you to know it's in capitals. It represents God. To illustrate, the Son of Truth dwelleth in a sky to which no soul hath any access. We can't get there. And which no mind can reach. And he is far beyond the comprehension of all creatures. Without the manifestations of God, we simply can't understand God. Yet, the holy manifestations of God are even as a looking glass, a mirror, burnished and without stain, which gathereth streams of light of that sun, again, capitalized sun, which gathereth streams of light of that sun, and then scattereth the glory over the rest of creation. In that polished surface, the sun, with all its majesty, standeth clearly revealed. In other words, we can see the attributes of God through the manifestations of God. The sun with all its majesty standeth clearly revealed. Thus, should the mirrored sun proclaim, I am the sun, well, this is truth. And should it cry, I am not the sun, this is the truth as well. And although the day star, with all its glory, its beauty, its perfections, be clearly visible in that mirror without stain, and that mirror without stain, that's an important phrase. Mirror has no stain. It can truly reflect the attributes of God. I'll read that again. And although the day star, again representing God, with all its glory, its beauty, its perfections, be clearly visible in that mirror without stain, still it hath not come down from its own lofty station in the realms above. It hath not made its way into the mirror. Rather doth it continue to abide as it will forever in the supernal heights of its own holiness. And actually that comes from, that's an explanation by Abdu'l-Bahá. To continue, so what is it that we know about the manifestations? And these next few passages actually share and clarify, what we know about the manifestations. And this again is coming from Abdu'l-Bahá. The holy manifestations, who have been the sources or founders of the various religious systems, were united and agreed in purpose and teaching. Abraham, Moses, Zoroaster, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, the Bab, and Baha'u'llah are one in spirit and reality. Moreover, each prophet fulfilled the promise of the one who came before him, and likewise each announced the one who would follow. I'll read that again. Each prophet fulfilled the promise of the one who came before him, and likewise each announced the one who would follow. I think I'll stop here and give you a little break from all this reading and do a song here. This is a song about the different manifestations of God. And it's about the arrival of Baha'u'llah. If Jesus has your heart, I understand. I know he shed his blood for all of man. Moses is the one who is your guide. His story put the love of God inside your heart in every age. God sends his spirit, God sends his word, God sends his love. And in this age, it's nearer than your life's blood. God's love has come in Baha'u'llah, in Baha'u'llah, in Baha'u'llah. God's love has come in Baha'u'llah, in Baha'u'llah, in Baha'u'llah. God's love has come in Baha'u'llah. Adam, Noah, Krishna, Abraham, the Buddha, Muhammad, and the Bahá'í in every age. God sends his spirit, God sends his word, God sends his love. And in this age, it's nearer than your life's blood. God's love has come in Baha'u'llah, in Baha'u'llah, in Baha'u'llah. God's love has come in Baha'u'llah, in Baha'u'llah, in Baha'u'llah. God's love has come in Baha'u'llah. God's love has come in Baha'u'llah. God's love has come in Baha'u'llah. Ah, ah. God's love has come in Baha'u'llah. So again, it's a song about the fact that God does send different messengers throughout time. In every age, a new messenger comes and brings his word. To continue, and again, we're talking about the divine educators, the manifestations of God. Oh, well, my eyes have readjusted. Know that the holy manifestations, though they have the degrees of endless perfections, yet, speaking generally, they have only 3 stations. The first station is the physical. The second station is the human, which is that of the rational soul. And the third is that of the divine appearance and the heavenly splendor. And then Abdu'l-Bahá goes on to explain a little bit about that. First, he says about the physical station. The physical station is phenomenal. And I had to look that word up. I know what I mean when I say phenomenal, but I wondered, what does Abdu'l-Bahá mean when he says phenomenal? Basically, it means it's something that it can be perceived by the senses or through an immediate experience with, in physical terms. So the physical station is phenomenal. It is composed of elements, and necessarily everything that is composed is subject to decomposition. The physical station is phenomenal. It is composed of elements, and necessarily everything that is composed is subject to decomposition. It is not possible that a composition should not be disintegrated. Then he goes on to the second station. The second is the station of the rational soul. So they do have a soul. The second is the station of the rational soul, which is the human reality. This also is phenomenal. And the holy manifestations share it with mankind. They share that attribute with mankind. But then he gives a third station. The third station is that of the divine appearance and heavenly splendor. It is the Word of God, the eternal bounty, the Holy Spirit. I'll read that again because that's pretty important. He says, the manifestations of God, some of the attributes they share with us regular old everyday human beings is, they're physical, they're phenomenal, okay? They have a soul. But that third station is that of the divine appearance and heavenly splendor. It is the Word of God, the eternal bounty, the Holy Spirit. So, and we're told to believe in these manifestations of God as God's messengers, but what does it mean when we are told to believe in that divine unity which they share? Here's the answer. The essence of belief in divine unity consisteth in regarding him who is the manifestation of God and him who is the invisible, the inaccessible, the unknowable essence. The invisible, inaccessible, unknowable essence is God. So I'm going to read that again. And this is coming from Baha'u'llah. The essence of belief in divine unity consisteth in regarding him who is the manifestation of God and him who is the invisible, the inaccessible, the unknowable essence as one and the same. By this is meant that whatever pertaineth to the former, the manifestation, all his acts and doings, whatever he ordaineth or forbiddeth, should be considered in all aspects and under all circumstances, and without any reservation as identical with the will of God himself, because the manifestation of God is God's representative. Those are my words. I want to make that clear. This is the loftiest station to which a true believer in the unity of God can ever hope to attain, simply believing in the manifestation. Blessed is the man that reacheth this station and is of them that are steadfast in their belief. So, okay, so God sends the manifestation of God. Why? Why would God send the manifestation of God? And in certain ways, we've already answered that question, but here's more that goes further to answer the question. It gives us God's purpose in sending a messenger. The purpose of the one true God in manifesting himself is to summon all mankind to truthfulness and sincerity, to piety and trustworthiness, to resignation and submissiveness to the will of God, to forbearance and kindliness, to uprightness and wisdom. His object is to array every man with the mantle of a saintly character and to adorn him with the ornament of holy and goodly deeds. They come to teach us. God sends them to teach us how to be good human beings, basically. Now, we could get into that, but I'll just continue. These energies with which the day star of divine bounty and source of heavenly guidance hath endowed the reality of man. By energies, I want you to know this is my interpretation. It's these potentials, these potentialities, if you will, these attributes that we can develop. I'll start again. These energies with which the day star of divine bounty and source of heavenly guidance hath endowed the reality of man lie, however, latent within him. They are not developed. They're hidden. I'm going to start that again and then continue. These energies with which the day star of divine bounty and source of heavenly guidance hath endowed the reality of man lie, however, latent within him, even as the flame is hidden within the candle, and the rays of light are potentially present in the lamp. The radiance of these energies may be obscured by worldly desires, even as the light of the sun can be concealed beneath the dust and dross which cover the mirror. Neither the candle nor the lamp can be lighted through their own unaided efforts, nor can it ever be possible for the mirror to free itself from its dross. It is clear and evident that until a fire is kindled, the lamp will never be ignited. And unless the dross is blotted out from the face of the mirror, it can never represent the image of the sun nor reflect its light and glory. In other words, we are not that perfect mirror that can perfectly reflect the attributes of God. We need someone else to light it up in us. And so we are sent the manifestations of God. To continue. And since there can be no tie of direct intercourse to bind the one true God with his creation, and no resemblance whatever can exist between the transient, meaning those things which come and go, us, and no resemblance whatever can exist between the transient and the eternal, the contingent and the absolute, he hath ordained that in every age and dispensation a pure and stainless soul be made manifest in the kingdoms of earth and heaven. And Abdu'l-Baha, where they were named in an earlier passage there. We could go into what Baha'is know, that there are even more manifestations, but those are the major faiths that people generally are aware of. And so those are those manifestations that are most usually pointed out. Unto this subtle, this mysterious and ethereal being, again, the manifestation of God, unto this subtle, this mysterious and ethereal being, he hath assigned a twofold nature, the physical, pertaining to the world of matter, and the spiritual, which is born of the substance of God himself. I'm going to read that again. Unto this subtle, this mysterious and ethereal being, he hath assigned a twofold nature, the physical pertaining to the world of matter, and the spiritual, which is born of the substance of God himself. He hath moreover conferred upon him a double station. The first station, which is related to his innermost reality, representeth him as one whose voice is the voice of God himself. Again, the manifestation is the voice of God. The second station is the human station. These essences of detachment, these manifestations of God, these essences of detachment, these resplendent realities are the channels of God's all-pervasive grace, led by the light of unfailing guidance and invested with supreme sovereignty. They are commissioned to use the inspiration of their words, the effusions of their infallible grace, and the sanctifying breeze of their revelation. Their revelation. Ring a bell? The sanctifying breeze of their revelation for the cleansing of every longing heart and receptive spirit from the dross and dust of earthly cares and limitations. We are cleansed through the manifestations of God. Then and only then will the trust of God latent in the reality of man, again, man being us, then and only then will the trust of God latent in the reality of man emerge as resplendent as the rising orb of divine revelation from behind the seal of concealment, behind the veil of concealment, and implant the ensign of its revealed glory upon the summits of men's hearts. We need these manifestations of God. I think that's a lot. And I think I'll take a little break and maybe play another song here. We've said in a couple of past devotions that as Baha'is we have several prayers that we can choose from. We have to pray every day, of course, but there are particular prayers that we are exhorted to use to use at least one of those prayers every day. There's the short obligatory prayer, often called the noonday prayer. There's the medium obligatory prayer, and there's the long obligatory prayer. And this is a musical version of the short obligatory prayer. It's called I Bear Witness. I bear witness, oh my God, that thou hast created me to know thee and to worship thee, to know thee and to worship thee. I testify at this moment to my powerlessness and to thy might, to my poverty and to thy will, to my poverty and to thy way, yeah. There is none other none other God but thee, the helping parent, the self-subsisting. I bear witness, oh my God, that thou hast created me. There is none other God but thee, the helping parent, the self-subsisting. I bear witness, oh my God, that thou hast created me. The noonday prayer. To continue, we're almost finished with our readings. Actually, this is going a little faster than I thought, which is a good thing, because like I said, last week, we really did rush it. And I don't know how this is coming across this week. I really miss Daryl and seeing Nini behind the camera and so forth. But again, it's so important that we understand this concept of the manifestations of God. I mean, when you think about the fact that, so many people who do espouse a particular faith, who've grown up or chosen to follow a particular faith tradition, often the viewpoint that is either overtly taught or sometimes assumed is that there's only one. And Baha'u'llah tells us that no, these manifestations of God, they come and they tell of the next one that is to come, and they fulfill the prophecies of the previous manifestation. But they are still unified in their message, and that's that thing that is difficult. And I'll admit, I even had some difficulty with that when I first started learning about the Baha'i faith. I want to take a moment out for anyone who, this might be your first time with us, or maybe you're interested in the faith. I'll be probably saying something about this later on as well. But it's important to know that if you are with us right now, it's actually part of a community effort, a joint community effort. We have people it's all people basically, mostly in the Tampa Bay area, but people from Clearwater, and I'm in Oldsmar, and Daryl comes from Newport Richey, and Nini actually, whereas she's sort of bi-coastal in Florida from Delray Beach and Clearwater. But I think it's important to know that this is, again, a community effort. It's certainly not just me by a long shot. But if you'd like to get more information about the Baha'i faith, well then, there are several authoritative websites you can go to. There is Baha'i.org, there is Baha'i.us, or you could come right back here and listen to some of the programs that are posted and some of the scriptures that are posted by ClearwaterBaha'is.org. And it's important that we point that out. Now, we've got a couple of more passages to read here, and then we're going to go ahead and share with some prayers. To continue, again, we're talking about the divine educators, the manifestations of God. From the foregoing passages and allusions, again, this is Baha'u'llah, I should point that out. From the foregoing passages and allusions, it hath been made indubitably clear that in the kingdoms of earth and heaven, there must needs be manifested a being, an essence, who shall act as a manifestation and a vehicle for the transmission of the grace of the divinity itself, the sovereign Lord of all. Through the teachings of this day star of truth, every man will advance and develop until he attaineth the station at which he can manifest all the potential forces with which his inmost true self hath been endowed. That's a pretty important point to repeat. Through the teachings of this day star of truth, every man will advance and develop until he attaineth the station at which he can manifest all the potential forces with which his inmost true self hath been endowed. It is for this very purpose that in every age and dispensation the prophets of God and his chosen ones have appeared amongst men and have evinced such power as is born of God and such might as only the eternal can reveal. I'll repeat that. It is for this very purpose that in every age and dispensation the prophets of God and his chosen ones have appeared amongst men and have evinced such power as is born of God and such might as only the eternal can reveal. And then finally, it's good to know, well, how does mankind fit into this? If we want to think of it as an equation, how do we fit in? Well, Abdu'l-Baha tells us all humankind are as children in a school, and the dawning points of light, the sources of divine revelation, are the teachers. Wondrous and without peer, they are the best teachers we can have. Those are my words. In the school of realities, they educate these sons and daughters according to teachings from God and foster them in the bosom of grace so that they may develop along every line, show forth the excellent gifts and blessings of the Lord, and combine human perfections, that they may advance in all aspects of human endeavor, whether outward or inward, hidden or visible, material or spiritual, until they make of this mortal world a widespread mirror to reflect that other world which dieth not. Most of you are familiar with the Lord's Prayer that Jesus Christ revealed in that line, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, this is kind of alluding to that, the establishment of a physical world that lives by spiritual principles. I'm going to read that again. That they may advance in all aspects of human endeavor, whether outward or inward, hidden or visible, material or spiritual, until they make of this mortal world a widespread mirror to reflect that other world which dieth not. Again, these are passages from the Baha'i writings, and this is a compilation on this topic of divine educators. It's once again coming from the book Baha'u'llah's Teachings of Spiritual Reality. And there are many other sanctioned Baha'i books that are sanctioned by the Universal House of Justice or and the National Spiritual Assembly that can, that are there to give us guidance. And they kind of do the hard work of taking a lot of writings from different places and putting them topically in one place so that we can, easily have access and in a way that's applicable to our own lives. We're going to go ahead and pause now, and for anyone who would like to share a prayer or a reading or even a song of your choosing. And Camby's, did you want to share some music with us today?
Do you have my sound?
I'm sorry?
Do you have my sound?
Yes, I hear you, but you could stand to turn it up a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know, it might be just mine, it's not terribly loud, but...
الله خدایا این طیر حدیقه عرفان رو بال و پری عطا فرما. و این پروانه شمع محبت را خود و منزلتی احسان کن. سرگشته صحرای عشق را به خلوت خانه نایت دلالت کن. و این تشنه بادی هجران را به لقای روحانی بکشان. این بنده قدیم را
ولا
الهی
ربنا
معبودم.
خب بفرمایید شما، بعد من میخونم.
Gila,
الهی معبودم مسجودم. شهادت میدهد عبد تو به وحدانیت تو و فردانیت تو و از بدای فضلت مسئلت می نماید آنچه را که سزاوار بخشش تو است و ظهور و بروزش از دفتر عالم محو نشود. صحابه او ها را ستر ننماید و غمام ظنون را از اشراق باز ندارد. ای کریم هر صاحب بصر و سمعی بر کرمت شهادت داده و بر سبقت رحمتت گواه. عبادت را از دریای شناسایی محروم منما و از انوار وجه ظهور من مفرما. توی بخشنده و مهربان، لا اله الا انت العزیز المنان.
ولبها ربنا و ملازنا ازل کروبنا به بزوغ شمس بعد کل کریم و خفف همومنا به نزول ملائکت نصرک المبین و نر ابصارنا به مشاهدت آیات امرک العظیم. ربنا افرغ علینا صبرا من لدن ربنا افتلا وجوهنا ابواب السعادت و الرخاء و ذقنا حلاوة الحنا وارفعنا مقاما انت وعدتنا به فی صحفک و کتبک الامتا یا الهنا هذا الظلم و الطغیان الامتا هذا الجور و العدوان هل لنا من مأمن الا انت لا و حضرت رحمانیت. انت مجیر المضطرین انت السمیع داع الملهوفین ادرکنا بفضلک یا ربنا الابها ولا تخیب آمالنا یا مقصود العالمین و ارحم الراحمین. بنده آستان شوقی